So we're looking at breakfasts today. One of the most popular questions we get in Strong Nutrients, and I get directly from my clients. What is the best breakfast? Okay, let's start at the beginning. Breakfast, if you look at the word, means to break the fast. Now I know that seems super obvious. However, many think of the breakfast being a meal that has to be had before midday, for example. It doesn't. If you're eating at 3 o'clock, your first meal is technically the meal that's breaking your fast, even if it's 3 in the afternoon. So first meal of the day. Now, assuming the goal here is to keep the belly fat as low as possible, certainly not to increase it, and if anything to reduce it, and also to improve strength, muscle tone, stamina, and keep the general energy levels up, this is the direction I would encourage you to go. Protein, as we all know, breaks down into amino acids, which are those lovely building blocks of you. Everything from your eyes to your skin to the muscle, the heart, you name it, is made up of amino acids, all those enzymes that break down your food. But it also breaks down into sugars as well. There's a little bit of naturally occurring sugars in protein foods. So protein is the core of it, if you like, but not too much. A very big protein breakfast may make you get quite sleepy. And the reason being, as I just said, it breaks down into amino acids, those building blocks, and sugars. So too much protein and you can have a sugar spike. And that can cause the insulin to go up, which in turn can increase the belly fat if you're not careful. So even though it helps the muscle tone, too much in the morning may not be very effective in terms of the overall shape and outcome you want to achieve. So we keep the protein to around about 15 or 16 grams of pure protein. And that's equivalent of about 2 eggs, around about 60 grams of, for example, smoked salmon or a hard cheese, give or take. And that gives you an idea. 100 grams of lentils, just to give you an idea, has around about 11 grams of pure protein. So that gives you an estimate of what you're looking to play with. If you have a protein powder, such as the Casein protein from Strong Nutrients, you're looking at only about 3 teaspoons of that, or half a scoop. And that gives you the lovely 15 grams. And then you want to combine it with some lovely fats. Now that could be anything from avocado, cream cheese, it could be cream, it could be nuts, anything from walnuts through to almonds or macadamias, right through to seeds. All of those get the fat in. The fat is essential for energy and also really good at slowing down the breakdown of the protein, so you stay fuller for longer and you don't get the same sugar spike because it all drip feeds into the bloodstream. So everything stays lovely and steady. Again, in turn, meaning insulin stays lovely and steady. You don't get the sudden spike and therefore energy levels stay up. So with that, you're looking at your 2 eggs and avocado, fabulous. Cream cheese with some smoked salmon works beautifully. You could even be looking at beans, quite frankly, your regular beans. Even, believe it or not, your baked beans can work very well, and you can wash off the tomato sauce if it's a little bit too sweet. All of those can work superbly well. As to canned yogurt, and just add a good fistful of nuts or seeds, I would go full fat yogurt. You want the natural fat in there and get the extra nuts and seeds to just increase that fat. Equally, protein shakes work very well. My favorite, as anyone who knows me, is the Casein, just because it's so slow release, which means it doesn't break down so quickly. There's less of an insulin rise and it keeps you fuller for longer. The protein shake, I personally tend to make on full fat milk, but you can make it on any form of milk, any nut milk that you wish. It can be soy milk through to the almond milks as required. Now, last but not least, we've got the lovely carbohydrates. Now, they're the ones that give the instant energy boost. Carbohydrates, as you know, break down into sugars. And obviously the upside of that is an instant energy release. The downside is insulin can spike, which can make you feel very sleepy and equally ultimately lead to an increase in belly fat, which you're trying to avoid. However, small little rise in insulin is actually very useful. Now, a small one, not a big one. A small one helps your body absorb and utilize protein. So if you deliberately add in a little bit of carbohydrates into that breakfast, it helps. Now we're talking about low glycemic ones, which really in English means ones that don't release too much insulin. So therefore you don't have the sugar rush, if you like, and then the drop where you get very hungry very quickly afterwards. And again, this might seem obvious, but just to clarify, we're talking about here good natural breads, like a good rye bread, a good sourdough bread. Equally, things like, actually, the berries work very well. You can have your berries in your yogurt, you could have berries in a protein shake. Frozen berries in a protein shake work super well. And that little bit of a sugar hit causes the body to utilize that protein that little bit better, but it's very controlled. And finally, a lovely breakfast can be porridge. I'm certainly not against it. It's a good low glycemic carbohydrate, but on its own, it doesn't have that much protein, nor does it have that much fat. So I'm inclined to recommend, if you're going to do porridge, I personally always add in 2 to 3 teaspoons of protein powder in there. So again, I'm getting my 10 to 15 grams of protein. So in this case, I'd be using the casein. Mix it through it, and that works really, really well. Some people will add in nut butters, get that extra little bit of fat in, or they might make it on a whole milk and get that extra fat in with it. And now that is a lovely complete breakfast where you won't be feeling hungry too quickly afterwards. It won't cause you to crave, and will keep everything lovely and steady in terms of blood sugar levels, and therefore keeping the insulin steady. So there you have it. Breakfast is the first meal of the day, regardless of what time of day. It's breaking the fast. You don't want to spike the insulin too much on that first meal, because if you do, you'll end up feeling quite hungry quite quickly afterwards. You'll get that high and a low. It will affect belly fat, not in a positive way. You want to keep the insulin lovely and steady to reduce the belly fat. You want to sustain yourself for longer. And if you can keep that insulin steady, you'll not only sustain yourself in terms of not being hungry, but your energy levels will hold for much longer. So good protein with fat, and if you're going to do carbohydrates, nice low glycemic ones will work superb. And that's my recommendation. I'd be curious as to how you get on.